All right, welcome back. This is something I don't know if I want to read it or not, but I'm reading it anyway. It's called The Gospel of No One in Particular, and it's based off of the Gospel of Judas. I'm not trying to, make fun of the work or anything. It's just, uh, you know, weird thingy. And I don't even know if I wholly like it, but we'll go with it. The man who referred to himself as Jesus asserted that he had devoted much of his life to performing remarkable miracles in the pursuit of salvation. I had never met a man prior that was so knowledgeable. We used to sit together and talk about the world and life in general. Over time, we became friends. This is a man on a mission, and at this point, I would follow him till the ends of the earth. After some time, he managed to persuade myself and 11 others to travel with him to Rome as his disciples, explaining that it was in reference to the 12 tribes of Israel. Among these were Asher, Judah, Issachar, Gad, Simeon, Benjamin, and Manasseh. We embarked on our journey, during which our guide engaged us in further conversation, claiming to know the mysteries of the universe and the origins of humanity. Yet he alluded to the latter only after knowing that we were totally alone. This struck me as odd, though I felt that the other disciples did not share my reservation. He seemed remarkably human to me, and if it weren't for the many miracles that I had already witnessed, just being in the company of this man, I might have fully believed he was not being entirely forthcoming. He was a carpenter, we came to find, who had abandoned his trade to pursue what he often referred to as his father's work. While it was clear that he possessed great power, an unsettling feeling lingered within me that he might harbor some concealed, perhaps troubling intentions. For some reason, my master often took time for solitude, to reflect or converse with his father. I assumed this was a form of prayer, although he never directly described it in that way. He spoke almost as if he talked to them face to face. I had faith in the man, yet there lingered a sense that something was amiss. One moment that remains vivid in my memory occurred while we were passing through Judea. We were gathered in solemn reverence during the Eucharist. That means Thanksgiving, as we broke a loaf of bread and began to offer a prayer of gratitude. He suddenly began to laugh at us, and in my frustration I asked why he found our humble rituals and prayers so amusing. He responded, telling me that he wasn't laughing at us specifically. Rather, he found it curious that we believed such actions alone could please God, as if he could be so easily satisfied. This prompted a flurry of questions from us, insisting, "You are the Son of God, aren't you, Rabbi?" To this, he would only reply, "I tell you, you do not know me, and no one from this generation will ever truly know me, for I am the Son of the one true God." No one will enter his kingdom without me. By this time, we were collectively angry with him after he spoke. We were filled with rage and began to internally question and even disrespect his name. Upon sensing our confusion, our guide then spoke, asking us, "Are you so easily filled with rage against me?" He explained that the anger stirring within us was placed there by the God residing in us. He challenged us by asking if anyone among us had the strength to stand before him and to face him as an equal. We all answered that we had the strength, yet none of us were brave enough to say anything else. Well, except for me. I stood firm before him. However, he turned away his gaze, unable to look me in the face. At this time, I came to realize that my so called Jesus was nothing more than a filthy liar. I then said to him, "I now know who you are and who sent you, but I am not even worthy to speak his name." I knew within my heart the falsities of this man by now, but I was concerned that the others would perceive me as a deceiver, for they believed with all their hearts that he is the real Son of God. I will continue to await an opportunity where he may expose himself as a fraud. I came to understand that the only way to prove my theory is to follow him until the opportunity makes itself obvious to me. He only paused for a moment before suddenly facing me. "Step away from the others and let us have a private conversation," he said. "I will disclose to you the secrets of the universe and guide you on the path to the kingdom. It is within your reach, but be warned. Great suffering lies ahead as you must relinquish your former self. I assure you, someone else will take your place, and you will no longer be counted among the 12, allowing that the others will fulfill their roles as disciples to their God." Unsure of how to reply, I asked, "When will you impart these revelations about the universe to me, Master?" "In due time," the false one replied, as he turned and walked away. I was disgusted by the actions of my friend and his blasphemies when he had claimed to be the Son of God. Later that evening, while we were setting up camp and taking some time to rest, the false one returned to us. Curiously, we asked him where he had gone. He then explained that he had visited another realm to commune with a more holy and superior generation. Intrigued, we questioned him. Who are these individuals, and in what way are they superior to us? He went on to clarify that there are 7 archangels who serve the one true God, and they share with him insights about his Father and the matters of the kingdom. After he spoke, a sense of unease settled over us, leaving us momentarily speechless for the remainder of that day. Our master remained unusually quiet as well, as if he were lost in contemplative thought. I remember another moment that he performed the miracle of turning water into wine. It was impressive, yet he spent the rest of the evening discussing it in a way that felt almost boastful. At that time, I believed this excitement over the miracle was just justifiable pride. However, one might expect someone who claims to be the Son of God to exhibit a little bit more humility, and I wasn't sure how to address his demeanor after that. For the most part, our master came across as very sincere, communicating with a calmness I had never encountered before. He was patient and rarely raised his voice in anger up to this point. We traveled from city to city, offering help to those in need and initiating pleasant conversations with the people. As we walked silently toward the Sea of Galilee, my master took me aside again and inquired, "Are you ready to discover the true secrets of the universe?" I answered, "I can only hope I am worthy of such profound knowledge." With a smile, he replied, "I will share with you the grand secrets of humanity, for there exists an immense and limitless realm that no generation of angels has ever beheld." He told me that he could summon angels at his call, and to my astonishment, he then declared aloud, "I command my angels to come forth." And suddenly, seven of the most terrifying angels I had ever envisaged emerged from the clouds, faces downcast, with hollow voids where their eyes should have been, weeping dark crimson tears. Their features were rough, marked by deep creases and a grim sharpness, crowned with messy dark hair. Overwhelmed with fear, I shouted, "Why do these angels appear so dark and twisted, my master?" He responded, "These are the archangels, some of the mightiest, at the service of he who sent me." He then continued, "I instead wish to share with you a fraction of my immense knowledge of the universe." He began to recount how God created the cosmos, along with his planets, stars, and solar systems. Following that, he fashioned the angels, nearly as powerful as himself, to assist in his divine purpose. Once they were established and assigned their roles within the kingdom of God, he then created countless slightly lesser angels, while the Creator turned his attention to the cosmos and other concerns. The archangels took it upon themselves to create a few assistants. Each angel began to craft their own lesser angels. This continued for an extensive period, during which an angel named Apatheon gathered his creations and proposed that they should make man in the image of God, believing it would earn his favor. Thus, Apatheon fashioned Adam and subsequently created Eve to accompany him. He told them they would live a long life, filled with many children and their descendants. Yet, amidst this apparent power granted to the angels, one among them, Lucifer, secretly began to conspire against God, convinced of his own strength He strategically sought to recruit other powerful angels, including a patriarch, to his cause. Over time, God, the sovereign of heaven and all celestial bodies, summoned Lucifer to his presence, fully aware of his scheme. Thus, the celestial battle commenced. Lucifer was ultimately vanquished by the Lord God, and he, along with nearly one-third of the angels who had followed him, were cast out. God exiled these angels from heaven and designed a place of eternal torment for them. However, some of the fallen angels were not immediately sent to hell. Rather, they descended to earth in order to lead mankind to their own destruction. I then inquired, why were the fallen angels sent to earth? He responded, why does this perplex you when I have just shared the origins of mankind? I replied, your words are clouding my thoughts and causing me considerable confusion. Ignoring me, he continued, there are 7 true archdemons and 7 archangels to oppose them. I assure you that there is no cause for concern as long as you remain in the light. The celestial conflict will be reignited in the future, and it is only then that my Father will cleanse the heavens of our wicked foes. I inquired, who, then, is your Father? He responded, my Father is the one true God of the universe. As I walked away from this man, a profound sense of dread washed over me for the first time since I chose to follow him. Aware that I could not share anything with the others without inciting his suspicion, I was left anxious about what further secrets he might disclose to me in private. We made our way back to the group in silence, where they awaited our return. He then addressed them, saying, I was sent to rescue your world from the clutches of deception. That night at the camp, I scarcely found sleep, haunted by terrifying visions of demons and fallen angels. Every part of me was convinced that this man could not possibly be the Son of God. By morning, I discovered that each one of us had endured similar, horrifying nightmares that left us restless. I hesitated to share my dreams with him at first because I worried that he might detect my skepticism. However, after discussing with the others and finding all of us shared the same dream, we eventually decided to ask our man about the shared dreams. We had envisioned a nation engulfed in brutal warfare, with flames raging and screams echoing through the chaos. In our minds, we saw 12 men gathered in a temple, where animal sacrifices lay upon the altar before a figure of youth, uttering blasphemies against the Spirit of God. When we recounted our terrifying visions, to this he responded, it is not I that you see, and you are only witnessing the final conflict of heaven. My Father will prevail. He must prevail. A few days later, we drew near a city along the shores of the Sea of Galilee, in the land of the Gerasenes. As we entered the town, a group of people rushed toward us. They urgently relayed a troubling story. There's a man living in a cemetery. He spends his nights screaming and crying, hurting himself with sharp stones and other tools. No one can restrain him anymore, not even with chains. No one is strong enough to subdue him. Something must be done about this man. I looked to my master, saying, "If you claim to be the Son of God, aren't you just a man for the job?" Flashing a look of indignation, he then asserted, "Of course I can cast out a demon, and you should know it well." So we hurried to the cemetery to confront the man. As we approached, our master called out, "I am Jesus, and I command you to leave this man in the name of my Father, the one true God who reigns over all." The man responded with an angry scream, only spitting in his face. His voice filled with a chilling laughter that echoed unnerving. "Ha, you are no son of God. You don't even know him. We are aware of many things hidden from human eyes." But he reiterated, "Leave this man in the name of God, I command thee." Even as it became apparent that his commands would have little effect, the false prophet then cried out, "My Father is a Patrion, the one true God of the universe. I am nearly as powerful as he, and one day I will rule the kingdom of heaven alongside him." As his voice echoed in the air, we recoiled in sheer horror, suddenly realizing the extent of his deceit. We felt a wave of disgust for having believed the lies of this false man. Looking out at the horizon, I noticed the small fishing boat approaching, carrying a group of 13 men. When they reached the shore, one man stepped out. My former master grew visibly uneasy, as if on the brink of fleeing, and suddenly shouted at the demon-possessed man, "Damn you, Legion! Why do you mock me?" An unholy, inhuman fire ignited in my former master's eyes as he bellowed, "Father, unleash your great demon hordes upon this man." But this time, the clouds remained still, and no angels, fallen or otherwise, descended. At that moment, the false prophet bolted from the graveyard, cursing in a twisted voice. As he fled, knowing deep down that the man approaching was indeed the Son of God. Meanwhile, the crowd, now resembling a furious mob, descended upon the false prophet in a frenzy of rage. They beat and trampled him as they dragged him out of the city gates, finally restraining him and tossing him into the ditch, bruised, beaten, and on the brink of death. As this chaos unfolded, the demon-possessed man ventured out from the tombs to meet Jesus. He ran forward and collapsed at his feet and cried out, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God?" We were all astonished by the bizarre scene before us, witnessing our former master exposed as a fraud, while the demon openly acknowledged this man as the Son of God. I found myself at a loss for words amid such an extraordinarily fortunate encounter. It's curious how we all ended up in the same place at the same time. Jesus then asked the tormented man, "What is your name?" "My name is Legion," he answered, "for we are many." Jesus commanded, "Come out of this man, you impure spirit." The legion begged him repeatedly not to send him back to the abyss. Nearby, a large herd of pigs was feeding on a hillside, and the demon pleaded with Jesus, "Send us into those pigs. Let us enter them." He granted their request, and the impure spirits immediately exited the man and entered the pigs. The herd, numbering about 2,000, rushed down the steep bank into the sea and drowned. The man then rose from his knees and went on his way. I walked over to my companions as we lingered among the graves, stunned into silence. After some time spent discussing our journeys, we collectively decided to return to our respective countries, especially as the deceiver vanished into the wilderness, too ashamed to face anyone due to his lies. From that moment on, I never saw the false prophet again. The best conclusion we could draw as we left the city was that he likely spent the rest of his wretched life in isolation, having misled us and many others for years. Some have postulated that perhaps this false prophet went on to call himself Abdul Alzared, the mad Arab, the author of the frightful Necronomicon. Though, in truth, no one knows what became of this false prophet. He had claimed to be the son of a demon in the end. I often worry that, although his body may have perished, his malevolent spirit endures. That self-proclaimed son of a demon might still be lurking in the wilderness even to this day. All right, that is the story. And I will say I wrapped it up with a real biblical story that was, out of, out of the Bible, obviously. But I wasn't trying to poke fun or do it wrong or twist it. I tried to portray it as closely as I could to the original. But as for the rest, it's loosely based on the Gospel of Judas, but I spun it in a new direction because I'm crazy. And then, of course, I couldn't miss the opportunity to throw in the whole Abdul al-Zared mad Arab thing. I'm sorry about that. It's a Lovecraft reference if you didn't know, but please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. I don't think Lovecraft would appreciate it, but that's okay.